kindly ask you to say your name, your age, and what
No
is
problem.
your exact work and position?
My name is Muhsen Abu Ramadan. I'm 51 years old. I'm staying in Gaza. My career is I'm director of Arab Center for Agricultural Development in Gaza, and I am specialized in social and economic issues in Palestine.
So, may I ask you, this current attack starting July the 6th,
Yeah.
which damage did it cause to industrial complexes, to fabrics, to shops, to agriculture, to farms?
Yeah.
All kind of information would be welcomed in that matter.
You know, Gaza was facing economic crisis before this aggression.
Okay. Maybe you mentioned that first.
Yeah. So unemployment rate it was so high, poverty line it was so high.
Can you say in numbers unemployment rate and
Around
poverty?
40% of the labor force, 38% under the severe poverty line living. The Palestinians who are insecure and facing food insecurity, around 57% from the population in Gaza Strip. And there is a crisis also because there is no cement, no raw material for reconstruction, for building infrastructure and housing. So it was on the beginning, there is a crisis in various issues, in agriculture, in industries, in protective. Taking into consideration around 70% from the population receiving food parcels from UNRWA and other humanitarian agencies, local and international agencies. So I think when the aggression coming, it was in crisis, economic and social crisis. The Israelis, because of the siege, the main issues, our main target for the siege, they want to transform Gaza to relief and humanitarian case instead to be protective and development one. And when the aggression happened, there is the damage and the destruction in various issues. Around for the housing, around 6,000 houses demolished and destructed totally. 5,000 they partially destructed, and it's unfit for living. So it needs rehabilitation and rebuilding for living. At the same time, around 20,000 of the houses they destroyed partially and need some rehabilitation. But it's fit relatively for living. For the industrial sector, around 200 factory destructed totally, and hundreds of factories destroyed partially. For the agriculture, based on the Ministry of Agriculture, the target, the damage, the direct damage, it's around $200 million. And they also, the Israelis hit the electricity station, they are hit the wheels of water, they are hit hospitals, they are hit various places, a lot of places, for the sewage also, sewage system. That situation creates a crisis. I am, as the head of Bingo, Palestinian NGOs network, we raise a request to President Abu Mazen to declare Gaza as a disaster and catastrophe area. And he did that. And yesterday...
When did he do that?
15 days ago.
And yesterday?
yesterday we declared in front of the media on behalf of Bingo, Palestinian NGOs network, which composed of over 130 organizations in West Bank and Gaza, and we asking the international agencies, and include UN agencies, to implement this request. It's mean that they have to expedite the tools and mechanism of solving the problems of Gaza as a disaster area, in an environment issue, in health issue, in food security, in health, in various sectors. So Gaza need between 3 to 5 years for rehabilitation and starting to approach the process of reconstruction and development. But it needs certain conditions. It's need to end the siege and allow the raw materials to pass Gaza, to enter Gaza, and it's need national unity government
That we have.
And we have to maintain it and keep it going and function in Gaza in order to have a national plan which is supposed to be based on participation. The representative of NGOs is supposed to be part of this management and administration, the representative of private sector and the representative of government. And the international community and the international donation supposed to support and fund this body or corporation for reconstruction based on its national plan and based on priority. And the priority for me, for my point of view, it's housing, because you are talking about 500,000 they are evacuated from north and east of Gaza Strip.
Still evacuated?
Part of them they are still, during the truce, humanitarian truce, part of them they return back. But the other part who are having destroyed for their housing, they are still in the UNRWA school and they are still hosted by their relatives.
Or friends?
Or friends.
Or strangers?
Or strangers, or in the street.
Or in the street. Or in demolished houses, I saw.
Or in the same demolished houses. So you are, the priority for me, for my point of view, is the priority of housing.
And this is a big problem right now.
Yeah.
Abdallah Al-Franji told me at the beginning of August that there were 600,000 homeless people. Is that right? 600,000?
500, around, yeah, around. That's right.
And 200,000 internal displaced persons by evacuated area, as you mentioned, now partly again home.
That's right.
And let us collect a little bit more numbers regarding the factories. How many factories are destroyed? Somebody told me 15 factories in Gaza City.
Based on certain statistics from private sector's bodies, such as Businessmen Association, 195 factories destroyed totally, destructed totally, fully.
And of how many? So of how many were there before? What was? I mean, is it 50% of all factories or nearly 100% of all factories who were destroyed?
You are talking about 4,000 factories in Gaza, but small factories, fabrics factories, small projects. But this is a big one, around 195 destroyed totally, and because of that 12,500 they are jobless now. They were working in these factories which destroyed.
Okay, but you say factories destroyed 195?
195.
Big factories or including small factories? Just big factories or also?
Big and medium.
Okay.
and small. Yeah.
Can you estimate the number of big factories before the attack? Estimate the number of very big factories before the attack on July 6th.
Around maybe 100.
100. And can you estimate how many of the 100 big factories were destroyed?
How many?
Of the 100 big factories?
70%, maybe 70.
Okay. And now, which unemployment rate do we have now, including all people who lost their job because of the damages, including children who cannot work, old people who cannot work? What's the... Or let me ask it the other way. How many percent of... In Gaza we have 1.8 million inhabitants. What do you guess? How many people have a stable job of these 1.8 million people who live here? How many people work in a regular way, who are hired, employed?
The big amount from employees, they are working in public sector, in the government. Yeah, a part of them they are working in UN agencies and international organizations and local organizations. For the market and the business, for the industrial sectors, before the siege, before 2007, it's around 55,000 they were working in the industrial sector. After the siege, the number decreased to 20,000.
Now 20,000 work in the industrial sector.
Working in the industrial sector. Yeah. For the agriculture sectors, for instance, it was 60,000. Now you are talking about 28,000 or 30,000.
In the industrial, in the architecture.
So the number of the productive sectors, it's decreased because of there is no raw material. Yeah. And no supplies for agriculture and for the industry. Yeah.
And then so the number of total people who work now in the industrial sector and agriculture sector is really
decreased, very small.
Very small.
Yeah.
For a population of 1.8 million people.
Yeah.
And we are not in the third world. I mean, we are in a developed area and environment. And if we go to Israel, we have a lot of high-tech industry.
And also the Palestinian people is very productive. And they can work hardly if there is a possibility of that, if there is a good environment of that. But why people they are hiring themselves on the authority, and the government, or the public sector? Because they realize that the Israel is imposing siege and there is no raw material, there is no possibility of export the commodities. The imported commodities also is very rare, and the Israelis identify certain items to allow it to pass Gaza and exclude from them the cement, the strategic materials, the cement, the stones, the iron, which is very useful for construction, for the infrastructure and building houses, for instance. That's why the projects here and the business sector, it's suffer a lot. So the next generation from them, they thought not to approach this kind of business, because even the siege or the aggressive, you imagine within 7 years there are 3 aggressions. So also they are targeting not just human being, they are targeting economy, because they want to transform people to relief. You know now Gaza, most of the people they receive food parcels from various associations, local associations.
Like Islamic Relief? Many.
Islamic and secular and many organizations, international, Oxfam, Save the Children, whatever, UNDP, UNRWA, they're providing food parcels to them. These people, the Israelis want to transform the Palestinian economy and the Palestinian people to 2 kinds. One depend on relief and consumption people and not the productive anymore. And when they are destroy the potential of the economy, they create social consequences on that, unemployment rate and poverty. And they are pushing the next generation, especially youth, to looking for other alternative solution for them, I mean immigration. That's my guy, our friends now, when he asking you give me the German passport. And you know he has a big business here. If you want to compare with someone in his age or less, and jobless, he is ready to go by ship to immigrate to Italy or whatever. Like Libyan people, African people, when they are passing to Libya through boats. And they are facing their life in the dangerous, putting their life in the dangerous because they want to escape from the hell situation and looking for other situations. That's why the European Union position, when we asking him to put the pressure to Israeli government and to end the occupation and increase better life for the Palestinian, it's also useful for the stability for the Europe. It's because you know Europeans, they are suffering. And they are fed up from the immigration problems. If you want to avoid that, you have to create a good environment, social and economic and political life for other people, such as Palestinian people. So the Israelis want to transform people to relief and to transform the economy to be not development anymore, consumption. To consume the Israeli product. And the Israelis export to Gaza around more than $1 billion as an Israeli commodities and goods every year, annually, you know. So they don't want the Palestinians to have their economy, their production, and to pushing the next generation for immigration.